a talk about 2.5 hours away from London. He's such a charismatic speaker. He's so incredible. He's an astronomy author, speaker, and as of this year, a professional Northern Lights chaser. And I love seeing him speak. It's so, so good. So today we left London and we got to go under the Blackwall Tunnel, which is a tunnel that goes under the River Thames. So you can, and that's the river that cuts through London. So I always think it's so cool riding through the tunnel under the river. It feels iconic at the time. And then we headed to Nottingham, which is where his talk was. It was with the Women's Institute. So he literally gave a talk on, it's called The Moon and Me, to hundreds of older women today. And it was so, so good. The Moon and Me is one of his signature talks. He has like 15 signature talks and they requested this one. How cool is that? Like, I love that he has signature talks that people request because they're so well known. And he was so good. Everyone was eating out of his hands the whole time. They were laughing at all of his jokes. And Tom is so good and charismatic at speaking that even if you're not super interested in space, like, he will entertain you and pull you into his passion for space the whole time. All of the women were like, I was enamored the whole time. And then the funniest bit happened. After his talk, he was handing out awards to some of the women who won awards from the organization. The organizers was like, can you pose with the women while they're receiving their awards for a photo so they can hold their award and you're on the photo with them because you're a guest of honor? And he did, and everyone was making jokes. They were like so eager to be standing close to a handsome gentleman again and making jokes like, to me, like, oh, you're such a lucky girl, or we'll give him back to you, I promise. After the talk was over, he was signing books. He sold a ton of books, and there was like women flocking to him, like literally flocking to him, and the crowd kept getting bigger, and it was so funny, but it was so fun. I'm so proud of him. I'll link all of his books in the description below.
London Eye.
Okay, now
or something like, lights are broken on the Shard, I see.
Okay, London's making a liar out of me because I was just about to say it's a really rainy, windy, cloudy day in London today, and the sun for the first time all day is peeking through. Sorry, it's a little loud. I'm in Covent Garden right now. It is Sunday, and Tom and I had plans to go to Ham House, which is a beautiful stately home in Richmond in London. So we were gonna go there, but the weather was absolutely miserable, like cold and wet. And we technically probably could have done it, but I just I had a vision of what I wanted that day to look like, and it did not involve being soaked and dirty. So I was like, let's do something else today. It's rainy today. It's supposed to rain all day, and now it's blooming beautiful. But I was like, let's go to like a museum or something. So I pulled up all of the list of all the museums in London. And upon pulling up that list, I realized that I've actually been to most of them, save a handful. And one of them is the London Transportation Museum. So Tom and I, he's waiting in line right now because there is quite a line. And we're gonna go into that. It's gonna be all about the underground, I think, and I love the underground. I only had to take the underground every single day during rush hour for 3 months when I was living in London in 2019. So I still love it because I have not need to do it for a decade at rush hour every day. I love the underground. I have my favorite lines. I love the District and Circle line. I love the Piccadilly line. All so good. So we're gonna go do that today, and it's just in the corner of Covent Garden. So it's nice coming to kind of like a hub in the middle of everything on a Sunday. Want to do something fun because tomorrow is a solid full work day. We have to enjoy time in our city. Whoa. I love it. I hate those mannequins.
It's a tube company.
The Transport Museum was so cool. We got to sit in like old train cars and old underground station cars, and there was a bit all about the war and the women in the war who worked in the underground and people who were sheltered in the underground during the war. So it was really cool, really fascinating. I highly recommend going if you're into that kind of thing. There were kids everywhere. So especially if you have kids, especially if they like things like trains or cars, they're really gonna like this. And then afterwards, Tom really wanted to go to Creme de la Crepe, which is my favorite crepe place that I took him to a little while ago. and he was just craving crepes, so we went and it was so good. It's in like the bottom floor of Covent Garden, which I always love a moment in Covent Garden, so I wasn't mad about it. And then we made them steak. He said, why don't we just pop into the Jubilee Market, because there was a scarf there that I really liked last November or December, and he was like, maybe they'll have your scarf again in stock. And of course, they had it in stock. It's a beautiful wool scarf in like the classic Burberry pattern, and there was a tag on it that said like it was a Tudor design. She told me afterwards it was not a Tudor design, which I knew. It's like obviously like a Burberry design, but the tag still sold me on it. I love Tudor anything and everything. So today's been so fun, between going to a new London museum, getting crepes, which is like one of my last meals ever. I would want to be like a Nutella crepe. We got 2 savory crepes, a dessert crepe, which was Nutella, banana, and strawberry. Then I got my scarf that I've been wanting from the Jubilee Market. Now we're gonna head home, get some work done, get ahead of the week, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I go right to the children's book, which I think is before.
It is Monday and I am starting the day, well, not starting the day, I've gotten some work done today, but before the East Coast wakes up and it's time to work with the East Coast, I wanted to get out into the park. Tom and I stopped for coffee and almond croissants, and we are in Greenwich Park. And this is the Queen's house behind me, which I love because it has the 3, or at least it did, I don't know if it still does, the 3 Queen Elizabeth Armada portraits, and it's a beautiful day. Look at how sunny it is. It's like actually really full here in the park today. We have just been getting some clips. I've been filming some clips for my Reinvent Yourself in 12 Weeks program, which is starting on April 10th. And Tom got excited about cinematic mode on the iPhone 14, so he's been filming some clips of me. I love when he gets inspired with the iPhone camera so he can get me some content. He's very sweet, it's been very helpful, and it's just nice to get out of the flat in the middle of the workday, which is only possible when your office works on the other side of the Atlantic. So just another beautiful pro about being transatlantic is having kind of like an unconventional day scheduling wise. I don't actually know what I'm saying right now because Tom is filming some B-roll. I don't really know what I'm supposed to be saying. Tom is currently driving us through London as we are heading to Ham House, which is in the Richmond area. It is a 17th century house. I read this morning that the person who built it, or the first person who owned it, was an Elizabethan member of court. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Maybe he was there towards the end of her reign. Yeah, I'm excited. It's a beautiful house, and Tom's been saying that we should go there for like a year or 2 now, so I'm excited that we're finally gonna be able to go. It's Wednesday and I don't have meetings until like 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. tonight because they're towards the end of the day on the East Coast. So I'm looking forward to a fun historical day. Visiting estates or palaces or stately homes is one of my favorite things to do in the UK. They're relatively inexpensive. Oh, I forgot to get tickets. I was gonna get tickets ahead of time so that we didn't have to stand in line for those. Maybe I'll still do that on my phone. And it's a nice day out, and most of the time you're outside exploring the gardens as well, so it's a really nice way, even though it's kind of gray and dark and a little wet today. It's just a nice way to break up the normal work schedule. So we're gonna go do that. I'm drinking Greg's coffee, which is usually pretty basic, but Tom decided to get me a cinnamon latte today, and it was really good. And I like that Greg's is fair trade coffee, which you can get a lot more fair trade everything in the UK than the US. They jumped on that fair trade train like decades before the US did. Speaking of fair trade, I'm wearing my Trades of Hope earrings that are made by survivors of human trafficking in East Asia. They're like my favorite, the gold croissant hoops. I'm also wearing this knockoff Burberry scarf that I got from the Jubilee Market in Covent Garden. I've seen Burberry knockoff scarves before, and they're like really thin or really short, and this one's like very voluptuous and full, and it's making me feel like the aspirational English rose that I don't really want to become. I'm very comfortable being myself, but it's fun to have something to aspire to. I'm very excited for a historical outing that's no doubt going to be beautiful, and hopefully the scarf is going to keep me warm because it is a bit gray outside. the springtime because of all the flowers. Ham House is so beautiful. Of course, when we first got here, we had to stop by the cafe at first because I was hungry, obviously. We had tea. I had a jacket potato, which is what they call a, do we call that baked potato? Like where it's still in the skin and you put stuff on top. It was really, really good. Exactly what I needed. And then Tom and I walked around the house on our own a little bit, which was so fun. We took it all in. And actually there was this really helpful historian who worked here. I think his name was Simon. And he was so helpful and pointed out things about one of like the, what was it? Just one of the private chambers, and pointed out things in like the paintings and about the history that I definitely would not have known, and it wasn't on a sign or anything. And it was so amazing because he was so enthusiastic, and I love coming to historical properties like this, and the people who work here are so passionate about their subject matter. And I love when they like volunteer to talk to you about things, like they jump right into it instead of like waiting for you to ask them a question, because you know, you just never know what mood people are in. So I really appreciate it when the historians who work on whether it's National Trust properties or other properties really love to just enthusiastically say like, this is what you're looking at. So that was really, really nice. And then Tom had to take a call for work, but I went in for another tour. It was like a highlights tour of the house, and it was so great. And I love a tour. I love a tour guide. I love a tour because I just like to know what I'm looking at, honestly. And the tour was so helpful. It really explained so much about the history behind the house, which I won't get into because that's probably not why you're watching this video. But the house was originally owned by a person at court for, I think, James I, so the person who succeeded Queen Elizabeth I on the throne. And then a little while after that, it went to, what was his name? William Murray, I think was his name. And he was actually like the whipping boy for the prince. So if the prince did anything wrong, he would be the one who would be punished, because you can't punish the prince, which is absolutely terrible. But it looks like his childhood experiences paid off, because he was given this beautiful home in the end. And then he developed, I think he ended up being like a groomsman to the king, the king's bedchamber or the king's chamber or something like that, which honestly still probably was a gross job. And then actually, I think William Murray's daughter Elizabeth, he didn't have any sons, so Elizabeth inherited Ham House, which I love. And she installed things like the bathroom that I'm obsessed with, and did so much of the decorating. So really, like, this house and the way it looks today, even though there's so much that's originating from its original built structure, which was in 1610, so much of like the stylistic influences came from Elizabeth, which I love. Leaving Ham House, which I'm very sad every time we leave like an estate or a palace, because I feel like I've made a new friend because I've learned so much about it. Saying goodbye, very sad. What might be even more heartbroken is I don't want to leave Richmond. It's just so beautiful. And I was telling Tom like how like depressed I am that we can't just like walk home because it's so open and so green and so beautiful. It's like London but doesn't feel like London because it's so open. And yeah, I'm kind of sad about that now. And I just don't want our day of fun to end. Like, I don't want to like go back to the flat and just like work. Maybe we can go find dinner somewhere or something like that. I don't know, we'll see. But it's been such a beautiful day. I'm so grateful to the National Trust that creates experiences like this. And I was just thinking on the way out, like, there's very like few other ways I would want to spend my money than like preserving history. And that's really what your tickets do, is help preserve history. Like, we'll never get this back unless we preserve it. So using my dollars for things like fair trade and organizations and brands that help create jobs for women and change the face of poverty, as well as preserve our history. Like, those are my two favorite ways to spend my dollars. This is where I wrap up the vlog. Thank you so much for watching. It truly means so much. And I will see you again in the next one.